I've never been to Istanbul. I always wanted to come here. Actually, this is the farthest east I've been. I mean, Sarajevo was east. And she's from Moldavia. She was telling me that the people here are going to be more generous than you could imagine. And it's been like that. So I just want to thank Alfon Dammit and the whole gang, even Boris and his guys. I know they've been working 24 hours a day, 4 days a week. No, 7 days a week. Anyway, so thanks. Thank you very much.
It's really an honor to have you here among us. Thank you very much for telling us the great story of your career, because as a film critic, when I went over your career, your films, and I saw how hard it must have been to come to this status. You must have had real problems, real troubles, and then real glory, which is rare. Starting from the days when you were filming with your 8mm camera on the New York streets, were you dreaming already of these days? Were you really dreaming to become a worldwide filmmaker?
Sit on a stage in Istanbul. I mean, I think exotic places have always been around. You know, when I started making films, there really wasn't I couldn't take out my telephone and have an ability where's my telephone? Well, I have a cheap Samsung, but I have an iPhone somewhere. Okay, but I wasn't able to take out an iPhone and have the technical ability to get sound and image to the equivalent of a Hollywood film, which everyone basically right now has. You know, it was more of a kind of a mystical experience that I would shoot. Somebody translate?
Yes.
You got it? Okay.
Yes.
Great, all right. So I sound like I'm speaking Turkish. It was kind of a mystical experience. You took negative film and you put it in a tiny little camera. And when you got finished, you sent it in the mail somewhere. And you waited weeks sometimes. And 2 weeks later, the package would come back. And you'd open it up. It would be in 8mm, and it would be magical. And you would sit there and you would see. We were kids, we were teenagers. We were 15, 16 years old when I first started making films. But always with a group, always with my, a team of people. Because filmmaking is a community deal, and we always filmed actors, even if we couldn't get their sound. And I remember we'd be so frustrated because we didn't have sound. And now I realize that working with just an image and without sound was like the greatest, real education and opportunity I had. And now I think back at it, and I think films from Chaplin and Keaton, and when they went from silent to sound, the art of the cinema jumped back 20 years and is only now trying to overcome the fact that, films are with images, because images doesn't need a translator. Alfred Hitchcock told Truffaut in that great interview he did, you guys make great films. He was talking about Godard and all those people, and he's talking about anyone who's basing their film on the written language and speaking. And he's saying, your films are really interesting, dude, but when I show Psycho, they're screaming in Tokyo as loud as they're screaming in Moscow. They're screaming in Chicago the way they're screaming in, Zaire. You dig? It's the images. No one has to understand them. They don't have to be words about them. It doesn't have to express anything. You're speaking the universal language, a language that the film itself teaches the audience as they watch it. All right, so you're wondering about where to go with your film, go anywhere, because the way you speak in the beginning of that film is going to teach the audience how to watch that film. I mean, the first film I saw was Bambi. It was like a Disney movie. I mean, it scared the shit out of me. I was like a little boy. They took me with a bunch of little kids. I didn't even know what I was looking at. I never saw a movie before. And my mother wasn't the kind of person who was going to explain. She just sat us down and, I remember we sat on folding chairs, a bunch of kids, man. And at the end of that movie, we're underneath the chairs. I mean, what's more scary to a little boy that he's going to lose his mother? But I learned how to watch films from that film itself. And I was frightened by that film, not because I can understand these people talking or understand the reading. It was the images alone that were powerful, that were moving. And that's, now I'm saying all this, and meanwhile I have more talking in my film than anybody, but I mean, I'm just trying to inspire myself.
But you have a lot of inspirations. In a way, you only occasionally left the streets of New York. You always... It's true
You
that...
make it sound like jail. The streets of New York.
Well, I mean...
I'm on the streets of East End, cool.
Also.
They remind me of the streets of New York.
Is the city an inspiration for you?
What city?
It's New York.
Whatever city I'm in is an inspiration for me. You know what I mean? I mean, whatever place I'm in, the inspiration. I mean, New York is 4,000 cities. That changes minute by minute, day to day, you know? So, I mean, I lived there a long time, so I have a connection to it, and I have an understanding of it, and I see things. But I see New York everywhere, you know? Maybe I see through a New York, you know, state of mind, but it's, you know, New York is an urban center. It's like here, 20 million people are jammed in a small space. It gives it an urban feel. I actually grew up in the country more than in the city. And the Bronx was not even like Manhattan. I started off in the Bronx, which was an idyllic kind of recreation of southern Italy that my grandfather brought. Almost a farm kind of agrarian thing, so it's a different deal.
So you have always a strong connection to your Italian heritage.
I try. I mean, I don't think I mean, it's in my DNA, so. But my mother was Irish, so I'm kind of a real American, you know. Like, you know, the offspring of immigrants, you know, Irish immigrants, Italian immigrants. But, you know, the Italian side is obviously louder and stronger. I'm living in Rome, so.
But this has enriched your culture, your...
Enriched?
Yeah. So you are just looking at the world from many different aspects, I guess, and seeing things differently, which we also see them differently in your films. I mean, the way you approach to crime, the criminals, there's always the political edge. You never like miss out the urban landscape, and you have deep study of the characters, and you always have these cult actors who are, you know, almost getting into these characters, becoming them. So there's a whole world of Abel Ferrara on the screen. And then where does it come from? I mean, do you plan it? Do you think it's inside you? How do you create that world?
All right, so what's the question? Yeah, the question is...
What are the sources of your creation and your cultural heritage, or how you grew up? How is it? How do you, you know, feed yourself when you're making films? And all these stories are coming out of what kind of imagination? There are some true aspects of it if we consider some of the films, but where does a film like The Blackout comes from?
How many filmmakers here? How many people here make films or do something other than watch me talk? I mean, guys, come on, guys, yeah, come on. I got a director here.
Okay, one.
Okay, everybody here, she's an actress, I know that. Come on. Like you're saying, even fashion, everybody's creative somehow. Come on, everybody's doing something. You're writing letters, you're emailing, you're blogging, you're bad-mouthing people in a cafe, it's all the same. You know, there's not a big deal between us bullshitting in a fucking cafe and the next minute taking out the camera and filming it, you know? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that fine line, I mean, the more you get that, to me now, I mean, I'm trying to get that line between my life and what I'm filming as like one thing. I mean, I'm not walking around with a camera on my head like these guys around here, but in a sense, that's you know, that's the truth. So many times I've seen things that say, I mean, it's a matter of communicating with the world. I mean, that screen is the mirror, is the bounce pad, is the connect. You know, is there a movie if there's no one in the audience? Absolutely not. Okay? That movie exists. Pasolini said the protagonist of any novel is the reader himself. Okay? So you're talking about characters. The main character of my films is sitting in the audience watching it. But I'm one of the guys sitting in the audience watching it. I'm the audience of my own film, the same way you guys are. you know, it's a matter of seeing, you know, I'm going to see the Dalai Lama tomorrow, which I'm really looking forward to. And, you know, what I gained from these guys are basically to really see clearly and see and feel clearly. And that means everybody, everything. Because we're just, you know, we're only in existence in reaction to the world. I mean, there's no cause without effect. It's all, we're all here. I mean, saying we're all one sounds so hippie-ish, but what I'm saying is that my creativity exists only in what I am seeing, if I'm seeing it correctly, if I am seeing it real, if I'm seeing what is actually there. The beauty of the camera is the camera doesn't have a mind. So the camera is seeing what is there. I'm standing next to the camera, and I am sometimes totally confusing what I'm seeing. That's why when you shoot things and you look at the dailies and say, oh shit, man, like that was so great. Or sometimes you think something is terrible, and then you look at it again and it's, wow, that's exactly what I wanted. Because I wasn't seeing what is right in front of me. You know, I'm seeing through the lie of my mind, through the bullshit of my mind, through the fog of, you know, alcohol, drugs, emotion, blah, blah, whatever. The point is to see clearly, the point is to express clearly. And then you gotta watch it clearly. And I mean, I think that's the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds easy. Try to. Yeah.
Maybe we can turn time
Yeah, let's
also,
have some questions out there,
to
guys.
some questions relating.
Who really has a question that Diane asked me? Where's Boris? He's bored hearing me already. Is he? Oh, there you are, Boris. Please ask a question. I know you got a question. Because I'm going to be gone, and you might never ever see me as long now. I'll be back. Go ahead. Don't be shy, dude.
I have one.
Go ahead.
How do you switch from Welcome to New York, the Departure Jacqueline Bisset?
The translator needs to hear, that's why.
I know that, Alin. Thanks for being here, Abel, and giving us that speech because it's really enhancing. And thanks for the organizers for creating this meeting. How do you switch from Jacqueline Bisset, Gérard Depardieu, and Welcome to New York to your latest film, Willem Dafoe and The Last Days of Pasolini? How do you switch to such diverse universes?
Well, you know, the diversion of it, it's both about real people. And, you know, I started making we started doing specific documentaries. All right, for me, every film was a documentary. But you could, if we're going to talk about genres, I did some actual documentaries about Napoli, about the Chelsea Hotel, about Mulberry Street, which is Little Italy in New York. And so if you're going to make a film about Strauss-Kahn, which legally I shouldn't say it's about Strauss-Kahn, but whatever, you're going to make a film about an event that might or might not have happened. But it's a guy who actually existed. The same with Pasolini. You know, it's basically you work in the same territory. I mean, for me, my starting point was research. With Strauss-Kahn, I want to know, I want to see, I want to feel. Obviously, no one knows what happened the last night at, you know, either the Scala where Pasolini was killed, but him and the guys that were there. And no one knows what happened in that hotel room except, you know, Dominique and the woman. And, you know, what is the truth and how do you find the truth? And does the truth exist after it happened? You know, is a real question. Because the truth is going to change and the reality of things. But, you know, there's the reality that Pasolini was dead at 53, you know, in the prime of his life. And that's a guy, again, you know, on one hand, Pasolini, we loved, quote unquote. Strauss-Kahn, I'm not too crazy about. But maybe that's a misconception. Maybe that's it's a lie for me to, you know, I don't want to pass judgment on either of these two guys. Okay, so when I'm approaching these films, I gotta try to find myself in these guys. Because anything both of them did, you know, I did worse. okay? And I'm not going to pass judgment on myself either, and I'm not going to live in a regret of it, but I'm going to understand it, and I'm going to focus on it. And that film is going to be mine coming to terms with what I did. But there's great things they did. Strauss-Kahn did some very strong things in his life, you know, from before the World Bank, from being the head of a university. But I mean, a lot of people talk good. They didn't talk good about him as they talk about Pasolini. But again, I can't find a set of these guys. When I worked with Depardieu, all he wanted to talk about was King Lear. He could care less about Dominique Strauss-Kahn. But he was finding himself in that guy, you know, and it's a whole group that go out there and do it, you know.
You know, this was a part of my question. When you see to the person that we shouldn't give the name, Dominique Strauss-Kahn maybe, and I can't imagine him like an insatiable man in hotel rooms at orgies, and
That's how you
but you can look at him and imagine. That's to see through that character, and then you're yet always talking about the truth, the reality. In fact, I mean, it's just another imagination, another way to see the world, I guess. I mean, you said that story attacked you, assaulted you. You wanted to tell that. I read an interview at the Interview magazine.
No, what happened was the lawyers put on the beginning of the film, inspired by an event, and you got to take this to heart, because anything, you know, Bertolucci said, no, Kubrick said this, the first image of a film is the most important image you're going to give the audience. All right, we took this to heart. Now, without me knowing it, they put on front of the movie, inspired by this event, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now the next day, 100 journalists are saying inspired, inspired, inspired. Like, I'm thinking, what the fuck did this word come from? Wow, everybody's like inspired by. Then I realized, well, it's the first word in the movie. And like Kubrick said, the first image is going to be the most important image the audience gets. And it's true. Now I know it's absolutely true. I always believed it, now I know it's true. So the word inspired, no, I wasn't inspired by a guy raping a chick in a hotel room, if he raped her, if he didn't rape her, you dig? But hey man, you know, his cum and her spit was on the rug. That's a given. That can't be denied, okay? So you figure that one out. Am I inspired by that? No. Am I exposed to it? Do I open the paper? If I want to see how my baseball team did that day, I got to go do 3 pages of looking at this guy and his wife and this and that. And it became an event. Why did it become an event? I don't know. We turned it into a movie for a lot of reasons, you know. A lot of reasons. You know, I don't sit in a vacuum and say, oh, I'm going to make a movie about blah, blah, blah. You know, I work with people. I work with a team of people. You know, my editor is in there in the beginning. You dig? You know, the writers, the DPs, my crew that makes movies, they're around me from Jump Street. If I have an idea and they don't like it, I say, hey, fuck that, Abel. You know, like drop it. You dig? So the idea is that and the producers, Maribel, Wild Bunch, Depardieu, you need the actor. When it all starts coming together, it comes together as a group. You know, the group wants, you know, it's like the Jungle wanted Marlon Brando dead. The group wanted that film made. There was other places we could have went, other movies I could have made. You know, hey, I wanted to do it too, obviously. I wouldn't have done it. But did I, you know, jump out of bed in the middle of the night and say, I'm going to make a film about Strauss-Kahn? No, that's not what happened.
Arkadaki beyefendi sizin sorunuzu duyamadık.
Come on, Boris, give me a question. He's shy.
No, just waiting for the microphone.
Christine, you gonna ask any questions? I'll give you a little speech.
Yeah, what's your next movie?
Neredesiniz?
You're not gonna like my next one.
Oh, he even ran away. He's so shy. Okay.
Let's hear it from a famous New York director over here.
So you're very close with your crew, your DPs, editors. When you start a film, how precisely do you lock the screenplay, the scenes in your mind? Do you storyboard, or do you go on do you do shot lists, or you let the actors free improvise? I mean, how much of pre-planning in terms of locking the story and the scenes do you do?
You know, first you need a screenplay to raise the money, because the deal is you need the money. So you need the one script now the script that's going to raise the money. It's like if you're building a house and you want money for it. So you do an oil painting of a beautiful looking house. That's great, man. And now you get the money. But for the 70 people that have to build that house, an oil painting of a finished house, they don't want to see it, man. They need the blueprint of that house. The guy who's laying the foundation, you know, the grip, the electricians, the location guys, they don't want to see an oil painting of a fucking finished house. They want to see the outline. They want to see the blueprint. They want to know how big the nails are going to be, how deep the cellar wants, how high do you want it, how many, you know. So we're constantly trying, for me, especially now, you know, I mean, I'm 62. I work with guys that the average age of the crew is 25, 28 years old. And, you know, most of them are knuckleheaded 25-year-olds, you know. High
like
and whatever.
Boris.
Well, Boris, yeah, okay. So if we're trying to do something with Boris, I would try to make it as simple. You know, I'm trying to get our vision as clear as possible for the group. Because the group has to have the same mindset of where we're going and what we're doing. So it has to be, we call it likable and learnable. You know, like, okay, this is what we're going to do today, man, okay? Like, if we were going to come here, we're going to film an audience of people, and we're going to film 2 people on the stage. All right, so that we know. Everybody get it? Okay, so now we got to find 70 people. We got to find 70 chairs. We got to find 70 sets of clothes all you people are going to wear. You got to find a dopey director. You got to find the woman who's going to be the moderator, who's a critic. You got to find the bottles of water. So it becomes like a campaign of like a military assault. I don't want to say military, but it's, you know, it's a group of people trying to focus in the same direction. You know, it really helps if everybody has the passion for what we're doing, which, you know very quickly on film who's with you and who's not. And if they're not with you, get rid of them like that, because it's not going to help. I'd rather have somebody doing something wrong who at least is doing it for the right reasons, you know. But it's better to have somebody doing something right for the right reasons, you know. And with the screenplay, we try to get it as specific. Somebody like Gerard, he don't want to rehearse, he don't want to see the lines. He don't want to see the lines till the moment he has to do them, because he's not going to say the lines twice. Okay, so he'll say you don't want to rehearse, but if you're with him for 3 hours, he's talking about the movie for 3 hours. And he might be talking about King Lear, he might be talking about a movie he made 2 years ago, he might be this, that, and the other thing. But he's focused, especially when he knows the director's in a room with him. He's only talking to me about the performance he's going to give. He's not bullshitting around, he's not jerking off, he's not talking about football. He'll talk about football if something about that football game pertains to a scene we're going to do. But all the while saying, Abel, I do not want to rehearse. Please don't make me rehearse. Okay, you want to rehearse? We're not going to rehearse. But it's all a rehearsal. Willem, the opposite. You know, he's German. He's from the Midwest. He wants it. He's American. He wants it. He wants to know the lines. Him and I work on the lines. We get them the way we want them. It's a little bit more specific. But when you're out there and the camera goes on, man, it's a documentary. We're flying, man. You could do all the preparation, all the rehearsal, everything. It's at this moment, at this time, and it has to get done right then and there. And you know, and I think in the end, it's just everyone you're with has to have the belief that what you're doing is important, that counts. You know, we're not doing it for a Maserati. I'm not doing this to be a big shot director. We're doing this because that film counts. It counts to every motherfucker who's going to see this film. Whether it's 100 years from now in an igloo on the North Pole, it don't matter. You care about it, you know. And if you got that, then at least you got something, you know. Because the filmmaking process is a mystery, man. It's been a mystery to me from the beginning, and it still is. And that's, you know. And believe me, I approach it that. As much as I might have a certain technique, I have a certain experience, I could bring something to the game, I know we're playing with magic here. You know, and almost the more we keep it magical and mystical. And guys like Willem, guys like Keitel, you know, Juliet, the whole gang of real strong people I've worked with as actors, they understand that mystery. And as close as they're going to get to a rehearsal, as close as they're going to get to exactness, they got to have, you got to give them that place to either fail or explode or ignite. And that's what you're filming, you know, that, I don't know, it's very hard to talk about, man. You know, if you make films, you know what I'm talking about. But it's very, very hard to, you know.
But it's great to hear you
Yeah,
to
you're
speak so
bullshitting away, I know.
passionately. I mean, the passion is there. You know, you want to
Yeah,
fight
I
to
know.
make a film.
So, who's got a question? Here we go. Now we get
Yeah.
I do.
Hello.
I just want to ask you about how these, you talk about like the international, global reach of images. What I have been like criticizing in a certain way recently is how, especially in moving, when you think about the biggest export of America are movies in a certain way. What we see is that, you know, we export movies that are just about images. And I'm talking about how, you know, movies that don't even do well anymore with American audience make all their money abroad, you know, from, you know, China, Asia, and like Russia and everywhere, Africa. You know, think about the Transformer, Robocop, the Hunger Games. These are like the ones that are money makers.
Yeah.
And somehow this globalization of the distribution has made more difficult, I think, for people to actually appreciate and see in maybe like what used to be in my generation, the cinema d'essai and like the movie circles. Sure, there is on the web a way to see everything and every time, but at the same time, the kind of marketing that's behind the big movies takes a lot of this space. I want to ask you, how do you live this kind of generation shift, and how do you see your moving scene? Because somehow an Abel Ferrara movie has always been like an incredible event in my world, and I think in the world of many of my generation. But like this new generation is so fascinated by just the blockbuster and that kind of image bombing that they with no words and nothing, not even a story actually, because the stories are just like basically fairy tales, you know. So just like how you see this happening.
You know, I come from a tradition. I mean, Pasolini's a you know, living proof of it. I mean, he was killed and he died behind, you know, there's stories that he went to find the stolen negative of his movie. I mean, he definitely he died behind his passion and his knowledge that his films are an expression of himself, you know, as a human being. You know, again, not to put, you know, as a Buddhist, every single one of us is an individual that is unlike any other. Whether you believe in reincarnation or not, I mean, the idea that the spirit that is you is everlasting, was born and never died, it could never not be. You know, the thing that hooked me into being a Buddhist, well, can you guys hear me? Okay. They hooked me into being a Buddhist because something is alive. How could it ever not be alive? You know, if your spirit, if you're into whatever you call you, all right, and it's never been found by, you know, the greatest, you know, chemistry, okay, what it is, then that spirit, that individual expression, you gotta put your life on the line for it. You know, like Bob Marley said, my right is my right because all I have is my right. You know, I come from, even from Hollywood, the Blacklist, you know, Nicholas Ray, Joseph Losey, I mean, the whole gang of those guys, they put their lives on the line for their films. You know, guys died for personal freedom. I mean, you know, my country, good, bad, or ugly at this point, I mean, these guys went there for one thing, and that was freedom. I left my country to come back to Europe for freedom. I mean, what you're talking about is you know, a situation in Hollywood, and I'm not saying that, you know, Spike Jonze, some of these guys could use the system. Oliver Stone, who was supposed to be here, is not, but, you know, these guys can work it. I couldn't, you know, I couldn't work it on either level. I couldn't work it on an emotional level. For me as a human being, I couldn't really work that system to my way, because it's a simple way of, there can't be any compromise, especially from the director on a film. I mean, director, if he's anything, is the last stand for the expression of the group, the expression of the person. And like Pasolini said, my expression might be alien, meaning his expression might be wrong. That's too bad, that's his. And you gotta die, and he died behind it. I mean, when Bertolucci, Last Tango in Paris, one of the greatest movies ever come out of Italy or France or wherever the fuck they made it, I mean, they burned the negative in Italy. They literally burned the negative, man. And when you burn the negative, not that there wasn't a lot of prints and other negatives, blah, blah, but metaphorically, when you burn a book, you're burning a book. There might be 1,000 copies of it. You burn a negative, you're trying to burn that expression. Okay, Marlon Brando would have went to jail if he showed up in Rome. So that's my tradition. And my tradition is, and it's become stronger and stronger and stronger. And I'm just saying, I did some horrible things to films that I should have been there. I left movies to be destroyed because I don't know. You know, I can't. I can give you an excuse, but I can't give you a. You know, I gotta live with that. But I'm not gonna live with it anymore. You know, so. You know, Hollywood filmmaking, a lot of filmmaking is a commodity, is a pre-planned. But I don't buy it in the end. You know, sure you could spend $500 million to sell something to somebody, and man, but you know, like Abraham Lincoln said, you can fool some of the people some of the time. You can't fool all the people all the time. You know, these films gotta last forever. So all these films that might have been big blockbusters, you know, no one even remembers the names of them. And there's a lot of films that are real and are there. And I think people get it. I mean, I'm basing my life on that.
Yes. Well, are you watching them? I mean,
I watch every single movie ever.
really? So you're a
Even
real
that dude,
cinephile.
what's his name? Every one of his seconds of his life I watch. I watch everything. I'm like the omnipresent vision in the sky. I watch them all at the same time. I watch every movie ever made, constantly.
Mikrofon üstteki beyefendi. Yok ama çeviri için lazım.
Glenn. Just talk loud. We can hear.
Okay.
Well, welcome to Istanbul.
Thank you very much.
In your movies, we know that they start with the stories and the entire crew works for it, but in the end, you characters stole the movies. So everyone remember the movie with your characters. In that in mind.
Give him the mic. That
Yeah.
mic's working. Yeah, and that in mind.
Okay. In your movies, we know that it starts with the stories and entire cast works throughout the movies. But in the end, your character stole the stories. So everyone remember the movies like, you know, King of New York and Bad Lieutenant and the characters. In that in mind, when you cast, do you cast that particular characters previous persona, star persona, or do you want those characters to give you a different performance in each movie that you cast?
You know, I basically cast the most interesting people I know. I mean, it really gets down to that. I mean, because there's a lot of characters in a film. So in general, we use a lot of people off the street, and I can, you know, my gift, if I have a gift, is I could just see that a little bit to know who the camera could, you know, connect to, and why the camera loves one person or connects to one person and not to another that's a mystery. I'm not getting into it, but I'm not questioning that. Back to the idea of marketing these films. I mean, the actors I need have got to have they have to have a value. They have to have a street value. You dig? I'm not going to go. But then at the same time, they have a street value because they could bring something to the table, man. You know, they get what I'm talking about. If I wanted to find somebody like Willem Dafoe or, I mean, Depardieu and these guys, they get millions of dollars. But to tell you the truth, if you wanted to get somebody like Gerard, and who has that knowledge, who has that experience, who knows how to be on a film set, who knows how to even show up, who knows how to be there for you, who knows when to connect to me and when he knows I'm just talking bullshit, to work that camera. You're paying millions. I mean, if you're paying $100 million for the CEO of a Silicon Valley company, you got to pay $100 million for that. Okay, so. And then these guys changing. These guys I've worked with Willem for 4 movies. This is a constantly changing individual. Not only is he changing, my relationship to him changes. First film I worked with Willem, we were at each other's throats when we were even talking to each other. In a million years, I never thought I would work with this guy again. You know, I'm saying, man, this dude is like too fucking much. You know, he just did not get our groove. And now he's like, we've done 4 films together, and it's like, you know what I mean? He's like, it's like really there as a player for me. You know, but for me, I'm an actor, kind of filmmaker. You know, I could imagine doing a film with me, well, maybe we could do it. That might be what I should do next, is a cartoon, so I don't have to deal with it. But no, I'm a slave to the actor. You know, really. You know, the films, like you say, the actors take over because because what's more interesting than a human being, you know, than a mind, than the guy when he's real, when a woman when she's happening. It's like I say, you know, what I see in life is like so brilliantly entertaining for me, you know. That, you know. Now, how do you go about doing that when you have to put it together and sell it in advance and find it, you know, you get out your iPhone, you stop bullshitting, you just take out the iPad or get your iPhone, which is beautiful sound, digital, fantastic digital, you know, recording, and do it, you know, and do it like Picasso does it. He didn't have 10 guys working with him. He's not worrying about if his assistant is going to be there in the morning when he got up. He just took the fucking paintbrush, walked over to that canvas and slammed it on there, you know, and cut through the bullshit. So when I see a lot of that, you know, but I come from a different, but I could change, you know. I come from a world of group filmmaking. Maybe I'll evolve to that, all right. Then you can selfie it, so you don't even need an actor. Just hit that button that spins the camera around towards yourself.
Well, since you're one of the youngest filmmakers alive, so
What?
you are one of the youngest filmmakers alive with all
Now
the energy
I am.
you have.
Now I am.
Yes.
Now I'm reborn. Right?
Yes, that's great. Unfortunately, we couldn't have enough of you, but the program continues.
Does
So
anybody have a
yes,
dying
dying to ask a
that
question.
they have to have an answer to? Now I'm in an answering mode. He's going to give 2 questions. Because he's the head of the festival, he's allowed 2 questions. Yeah.
The other night, you told me you did so many films, but you never worked with a producer twice.
The same
So the
producer
joke-
twice. No, we worked a few times. I mean, you know, I don't know. It's a tragedy, you know. But you know, it's our nature, you know. Like we just the kind of guys that, you know, we don't burn bridges, we nuke them. You know what I mean? You know, we burn bridges when we're on them. But hopefully that we've changed that way. Producer is a key element to the team. You know, I mean, he's got to be there and he's got to know when not to be there. I would like to produce, actually. That's one thing I think I would like to try. But I would not want to produce for a guy like me. All right. Is
Well,
everybody
thank
got it?
you so
Guys,
much.
thank you.
Thank you so much.